and welcome. Hello to the lovely Danielle, who's joining us from Spacetime VA, owner of Spacetime VA, should I say. And Danielle used to be a primary school teacher. Is that right? Primary school?
Primary, yes.
Okay.
Years.
And she's successfully made the transition from teacher to very successful, I would say, virtual assistant. So, Danielle, would you mind starting by just giving us a really brief overview of your journey so far?
Yeah, it's been a wild one. It's been a wild journey. So, yeah, basically, I was a primary school teacher for 17 years. Loved my job for the majority of my career, and I would say probably the last 3 years, things got on top. Workload was crazy, demands from the government, the council, and it just became more about the admin and the paperwork than the children.
Mm-hmm.
And being with the children was what I was there to do, ironically, because now I do admin and paperwork. But anyway, and it was a case of I was doing 2, 3, 4 jobs. I was a social worker, I was a teacher, I was a doctor, I was, you just everything. And the job has just changed so much. And I was losing the enjoyment. Had a few kind of issues in work, toxic workplace, usual story. So I had some time away, I had some time off. And when I say I had some time off sick. I didn't just leave, and reflected and thought, there's only one person that can change this. I'm not going to sit here and moan about it and be sad about it if I'm not going to be proactive in doing something about it. The thought of going to another job and throwing away a load of wages was scary. It's like, I've got a house, I've got a family, I couldn't just do that. So it was actually my friend's sister who is a VA, and my friend was speaking to me on the phone one day. She said, have you ever thought about being a VA? And I was like, what's a VA? I didn't even know what one was, never heard of it. And she said, you should speak to my sister. So I rang her sister and she said, just come and watch me work for 10 minutes and see what you think. I was like, okay. So I literally just walked up. They live in the village, literally walked up the hill, sat in this like home office in the garden. And I must have been there about half an hour, and she would just kind of talk me through, right, I do this, I've got this client, I do emails, And I thought, yeah, that's a bit of me. I could do that. Because I think with the whole primary teaching, God, you've got to be organized. You've got to be on top of everything. You're used to wearing so many hats all at once. So things that I think would maybe stress a lot of people out in the VA world, to me, is like, that's nothing. That's nothing,
Yeah.
I was like writing reports, mopping someone's leg up from falling over, teaching maths and all sorts. So yeah, no, I was cool with that. So I looked into it. I did go and buy a course, but that was more so how to run a business. It was how to run a VA business, but it didn't teach me how to be a VA. That was purely like, you need this insurance, you need to be registered with the ICO, you need contracts, very kind of, this is what you need to set up. So I did it. I got myself sorted, I got myself set up, and then I found LinkedIn, which everybody in this house yawns when I say LinkedIn because I don't shut up about it. And I just started posting on LinkedIn alongside teaching. So at that moment in time, I was teaching 4 days a week. So I hadn't taught full time since my daughter was born. So that would have been about, 7 years before that. And I started doing it alongside, just posting on LinkedIn, found that I enjoyed it. No, nothing salesy, nothing adding value as such, just me, personal stories, relating it to business. It was a bit of a blog, and it was just a hobby. So anyway, landed my first client. That one, my very first one, was through word of mouth. And it was purely, it was tiny. It was 3 hours a month, So yes, officially they were my first client, but I don't really class them as my first client. It was tiny. So did a bit of work with them, which made me realize what type of people I wanted to work with, and also established
subtle message in there.
It was very corporate. It was very I was over accommodating because being a teacher, you just work unpaid anyway. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on a minute, why am I answering my phone on a Sunday to sort someone else's something, you know? And I just thought, no. And it did. It got to the point where I thought, is this VA thing for me? But then soon realized that actually, no, it's just you need to work with people who you're aligned with. And then anyway, so I've been doing LinkedIn for about 3 months. And then it just went wild. Absolutely wild. I just fell in love with experimenting on LinkedIn, what works, how to do lead generation, who to speak to. I don't know. I treated it like a game because there was no pressure on me because I still had my job, if you like, which I know some people can't do that. So it was the January of 2023, and it just flew. I had clients just everywhere, and I was in a bit of overwhelm because I thought, oh my God, like what do I do? I'm still teaching. So I dropped to 3 days a week, and I was working on the business 2 days a week. But at that point, I got my first team member, Holly. So she was the first ever associate, and it was me and Holly. And then Holly would keep everything going on the 3 days I was teaching, and then added another associate and another, and it did not stop. And then when I got to, oh my gosh, when was it? I'd had the summer holidays and I was going back 3 days a week in September, as in the September just gone. It seems mad when I say it like that. And I thought, I went down to 2 days. Tell a lie, I went down to 2 days until the summer. And then it got to the September and I thought, I need to hand my notice in now. It was crazy because I think at the time I had 6 or 7 associates and me, but my direct clients, the people who I work with, knew that I wasn't available on those days, whereas everybody else was working Monday to Friday. So I handed my notice in. So and not many people realize this, but I only officially left on the 31st of December last year. I was still teaching. And then, so there's now 12 of us. I hesitate because we've had someone new and then someone's left. And there's 12 of us. And it just works. Everyone's got different skills. So those things that maybe when I first started out and I did, and I knew they weren't for me, but I did because it was like, I need to get experience. I need to, how was I ever going to know what I was good at and what I enjoyed doing without having a little play with it? And don't get me wrong, if there was something that I knew I wasn't so confident at, rightly or wrongly, but rightly in my eyes, I turned the clock off. The client wasn't charged for it. I put my time into teaching myself, what to do. And here we are. It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers, but good bonkers. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what a journey in such a small amount of time as well. And I would expect that you put a lot of that on your success on LinkedIn, do you? Is that where you found most of your clients?
All apart from a couple of word of mouth are LinkedIn. Don't get me wrong, I have got an Instagram account, I have got a Facebook, but for me, LinkedIn is my marketing tool. If we lose some clients, which happens, people get employees, people have their own financial strains, there's various reasons why clients would drop off, then I know that I can just say, right, I'm going to put a post out on Monday about that, Wednesday about that, Thursday about that. And it's become like a little game in the team. And they're like, oh, how many are you going for at the end of this week type of thing? And they're all like, how have you done that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm used to my audience and what they like, I don't know. I've learned to manipulate it because it's posting on LinkedIn and getting those kind of leads and all the rest of it. It is really like a manipulative little game. It kind of is, isn't it? Sales is, everybody talks about sales. It's like, oh, it's icky, it's this, it's that. But I am genuinely me on there. I'm 100% me on there. People come on a call and they're like, oh my God, you're just like you are on LinkedIn. I'm like, good, good. I'm me on there, but I'm me with an intention. That's how I'd kind of put it. But yeah, it's my it is a hobby. put it is that strange?
Yeah, so that's lovely. Yeah, and that's phenomenal growth as well in such a short amount of time. And a testament to the work you've obviously put into LinkedIn. Because presumably you didn't did you do much on LinkedIn before when you was a teacher?
No.
My
husband was on it because he's like in the corporate world, and I set up an account. I don't really know why. I think I just set up an account to see what it was all about, and it was literally no picture. I think it just had like primary school teacher, but I never went on it. So it will probably show that I've been active for years, but no, it was only, it would have been June, July 2022. So yeah, I've only been on there 2 years really.
Right. Okay. So let's go over to LinkedIn first of all, and then I'll come back to sort of your business and how it's grown and that type of thing. So on the LinkedIn front, then, because lots of people are a little bit scared of LinkedIn when they, especially if you haven't been in a role that's required it before. So presumably, so you went onto LinkedIn because you'd had this, I'm going to become a VA and I'm going to see what LinkedIn can do for me. So what would you say to other people who are in that boat? What advice would you give them?
I would say that at first, everybody is scared. Everybody, I didn't want to post pictures of myself. I didn't want to write on there. Even now, when I post, I'm fine with pictures. I've gone past caring. But if I post a video, even now, I'm like, oh, here we go, But I know that people want that familiarization. People want that, trust. And to do that, you have got to put your face on there. You've got to be you on there. But to be honest, because there was no pressure on me and I didn't know anybody on there, because all of my education world, all the people in that world were not on there because they need to be. So I didn't feel like I was talking to family and friends. I didn't feel like I was talking to colleagues because I wasn't. So these people were strangers to me. And in a funny kind of way, I was okay with that because nobody knew me and it felt, I don't know, it just felt okay to do that. So many people are terrified of LinkedIn. And I tell you now, I'm terrified of Facebook. I'm the complete opposite. I've had so much like spam on Facebook. It's unbelievable. But that will be because I'm not quite sure how to sort it out yet. And I will, But yeah, I would honestly say just play around with it. Look at other people's posts. Don't go on there and think, right, I need to find clients. Who do I want to work with? Let's search for them. Let's search for this. Go on there with no intentions. Go on there to just have fun, connect with people who you think look cool, you like their profile, they're chatty, and just enjoy building relationships. Because if you go on there from the start and just try and get clients and build it, it's just not going to happen. You've got to have that foundation. You've got to have the relationships and the engagement, and it does take time. It's not a quick fix. I'd say 3 months before anything starts coming in if you're brand new to it. But yeah, everyone's been there at some point, and even people who seem super confident at it get kind of a bit of sometimes, but you've just got to press the button. What's the worst that can happen? At the end of the day, what is the worst that can happen? You're not putting anything on there that's offensive. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not breaking any rules. Like what is the worst that can happen? You can feel embarrassed for a few minutes. You get over it.
Yeah, exactly. And, I know there's also a big fear for people as well that what if my posts don't get seen, which, the reach isn't generally very high. If you're very new to posting, you have to build on that, don't you? But I always think, well, then so what? If it doesn't get seen, people aren't going to see it. So what's the problem? Why worry about it?
It's disheartening. I think that's the one thing is it is disheartening if you're posting for a couple of months and there's absolutely nothing happening. It is disheartening, but you've got to look at it, I suppose, with when the engagement does come, look how much you've got to repurpose because you've got all that content there that no one's seen.
Again.
Actually, it's future-proofing it as well. And to be honest as well, like the reach as well, that's a really funny one. I mean, LinkedIn has got a mind of its own anyway, an absolute mind of its own. And if they're rolling out updates and things, it can become glitchy and, all the rest of it. But for instance, so I think my best performing post was something like, I can't remember the impressions on it. I think it was about 80, was it 80,000 or 100,000 impressions, and I had over 1,000 likes, and yeah, that was such a dopamine hit. It was like, oh my god, wow, oh my god, look at this post. It's gone viral.
Amazing.
I got no business from that, no business at all. But my kind of everyday posting that averages, I don't know, 100 to 150 likes, they're the ones I'll get leads from. And I always try and anything that I put out to do with being a VA, whether it's a promo type post or whether it's like an add-in value post, I'll always sandwich it. You'll notice on my LinkedIn, I always sandwich it the day before and the day after with something personal and funny, because the personal and funny travel far. So I will whack out a personal and funny and it'll go woomph, and then I'll put out the salesy / add value that the people actually don't know they need, and that will stay up. And then I'll do another personal funny one and it keeps it up. So when I say it's like a game, that's the game. You just got to know what to post when, because you're not going to grab people's attention with an adding value. Oh, look, there's another VA. You have got to be a little bit kind of different about it.
And stand out. Yeah. And that's the same with any marketing, anywhere that you're trying to win clients. Standing out is key, isn't it? And you've now brought through the LinkedIn side and your skills on LinkedIn through to your services as well. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the services that you're offering now as Spacetime VA?
Oh, gosh. Do you know what? I always kind of start off and then go, oh, yeah, and this one, and this one. It's so hard to remember, because everybody's always adding to their skill set as well. Nobody stays stagnant, if you like. So we've got a clear kind of, not divide, but we've got two clear groups. We've got our admin and techie and systems people, and then we've got our socials and our creatives. But then they're broken down again. So we've got our VAs that will just do systems, back-end, techie stuff, the stuff that would make me just come out in hives. I'm like, oh my God. And then we've got like an ex-corporate PA who's like calendar, email diary management whiz. We've got a Pinterest specialist, we've got a Meta specialist, we've got LinkedIn specialists, we've got the people who will write the content, not copywriters, but copywriting VAs. Make that clear. And what else have we got? The only thing, to be honest, that we don't touch, we do pretty much everything apart from complex video editing. We'll do basic video editing, but that's one thing I say, complex video editing, I wouldn't say that was an us job. And anything to do with accounting software. So I'm not AML registered and I don't plan to be. It's a load of faff. So we don't touch anything to do with accounting software. And VAs know that when they're working with Spacetime clients, they're not allowed to do that because they are not covered under my umbrella. They can do it directly if they've got an exemption certificate or they're registered or whatever. But yeah, it's most of the inquiries that we get are for email and diary, or LinkedIn, and Instagram's becoming quite we didn't used to get a lot of Instagram clients, but the last 3 have been Instagram. So yeah, the socials and the email and the diary are the most common, but then we do get people coming to us saying we don't know what we need yet. And we'll kind of say something, right, what's taking up your time, all the rest of it. And there are clients that come to us that teach us to do what they want us to do because they trust us. They've built that relationship with us. And people say, well, why on earth would they do that? Why wouldn't they go and find somebody that can do it? But it's all through the content. I've built up that trust and I've built up that familiarization and everything through putting my face on there. Crikey, I post without scrap of makeup now. I'm not bothered. I just do it. If you'd have told me that when I first started, I'd be like, shut up. But I've already built that. So when they come on a call with me, they feel like they know me. And they're set on like working with us because I'm in that little trust bubble. So that's why they prefer to, say, oh, have you used this system before? And chances are somebody on the team has used that system before, but there are times where we haven't. And now we're just at the point where we'll go, oh, we'll pick it up. Be fine, we'll pick it up. As you know, that they're much of a muchness, all the kind of different platforms in their little kind of niches are so similar anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I always say that, if you know how to use MailChimp, you can work out MailerLite, you can work out Convertly. They're all the same, really. You just need to sort of learn where the buttons are on each individual one. So so that's amazing, and a testament, I suppose, to that video and photo content must do a lot, especially for giving that trust factor and letting people feel like they know you before they get to actually meet you, would you say?
Yeah, I think it does. And do you know what? There are so many different opinions on content that you put out there, and I know at the moment it's all everybody's encouraged to add value, be a thought leader. You don't need a picture for everything. Don't put hooks that are clickbait. And I'm actually the opposite to that. If I don't put like a silly or a quirky photo or something on, people will DM me and go, "Where are your silly photos? Where have they gone?" And I'm like, it just seems to be something that's stuck. Like, I've got a bit of a reputation for it. And if I post without a photo, I will always make sure that my hook is a bit clickbaity. And again, you've got people out there saying, "Don't do that. Oh, don't do that. How awful is that? Getting people, to tricking people into reading your posts." It's like, that's marketing.
That's what you do. It comes back to like that I suppose manipulation. There's another word for it though.
Yeah, there must be a nicer word.
There is a nicer word for it that's not manipulation. But yeah, it is just getting people to do what you want them to do, which is to read your post, and that is marketing. So in the same way that any form of marketing, it's to get them to take your call, it's to get them to open your email, it's get people to do what you want them to do and then take the action that you want them to do, which is to inquire with you and get in touch. So you're obviously doing well with that.
So you know what the thing is, I just have fun with it, and like some of my hooks, I have posted things before now and gone, should I have put that? It was a bit too tongue-in-cheek. And then I've had comments on it like, I have no idea what your post was about, but this hook made me laugh so much. Or, and people have, there's usefulness in that because people are going to remember you. So it's, I get everyone's different, but behind kind of closed doors, I am a bit cheeky. I do like to crack a joke, and I just thought, well, if I'm going to be me on there, then let's push it and see what people think. And if people don't like it, they don't engage and they don't connect, and that's fine, because I don't want to work with people.
They're not your people.
They're not my people, no. So if they can cope with my silliness on LinkedIn, then they can cope with working with us. We're all good.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And how do your services compare? Because just picking up on something that you said before about the techie side of things that you don't enjoy, but you've got associates that are doing that work for you. So presumably you wasn't doing that at the beginning. How have your services changed as you've sort of evolved?
Yeah. So at the beginning I offered, so when it was me on my own, I offered general admin, email and diary management. I was trained by a client in property management admin. So that was something I'd never, done before. And the LinkedIn, I felt comfortable with the LinkedIn. So that is literally all I offered. And then I had a lead come to me and came in, and they wanted help with on their project management system and uploading links for masterclasses to clients and things like that, and help with onboarding their clients. And I thought, I could do that, but I don't really, it's not something I've done before. So that's when I put an advert out for a first associate, because I thought this is getting silly anyway, because I was working after teaching, before teaching, my days off, I was getting really, really busy. And that's where Holly came along. And so then I just included her things in my services. And then when it was really, really full, I thought, oh my God, I need like another me, because people kept coming to me for LinkedIn things because that's what they saw. So then I got somebody else that could do what I did. And then I was like, oh, okay, people are asking about Instagram now. So I just kind of sussed out what the interest was out there. And I've always tried to onboard team members before we've got the client ready, because that stresses me out. That really stresses me out. I hate having I like to, on a call with a client, say, well, actually, do you know what? I think so-and-so would be suitable. They do X, Y, and Z. And I usually kind of say, they live in wherever, they've got 2 dogs that, you know, I like to talk about team members as people, not, oh yes, I'm sure we'll find somebody who does that. I have only ever done that once, because we just had a massive influx, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel authentic, you know, it just didn't feel right. So I try and get people in before it. It's like now I've just onboarded another 2 VAs. So officially there are 13 of us, but only one signed the contract. That's why I said 12. And I know what they've got capacity for. Yes, I risk them getting direct clients, and that's fine. That's what it is. That's what it's all about, isn't it? But they're there ready, and that just makes me, it's all good. We get leads in now. We're good. We can sort this, you know. But if they weren't there, I'd be flapping. And today's been a good lead day, so I'm just pleased that they're there. So we're all ready. But this has just been trial and error, testing things out, seeing how it goes. If something's not working, looking at why isn't it working? Have I done something wrong? What could I do better? Let me tweak this. You know, I just like to analyze. And you know, you can criticize yourself, can't you? You can look at your own stuff and think, oh, I did a rubbish job at that. That's why that's not worked. Or I fluffed up that discovery call. Why did I say that? You know, we live and learn. And I think you've got to have these learned experiences in order to help you strengthen your systems and things, haven't you?
So on the discovery call front as well, because your background, it wasn't even sort of corporate. You obviously was used to having parents' evening and meeting people and whatnot, and I suppose reporting to like more senior members of the team and Ofsted when they came and that type of thing. But dealing with business owners, I think is entirely different, and also having to sell yourself and your business and your team. So how did you manage that transition?
Yeah, to be honest, when I was at school, so the last few years I branched out and I did some lecturing in uni. So I'd kind of had experience of dealing with adults, if you like, as well as children. I'd started my master's in leadership. I was head of expressive arts in the school. So I mentored all the newly qualified teachers. So I'd done a lot of adult communication, if you like. And that did help. That did really, really help and gave me some confidence, because I wasn't confident at all. But yeah, as for selling myself, I don't. When I'm on a call, I do not sell myself. Again, like some people may disagree with that. I don't. I say what we do. I talk about the business. And I think because I love the business and because I'm passionate about it and because I know that what we do is working and it's working well, that comes across. And I think if you're going to really try and get someone to work with you and persuade them in some kind of, I don't know, disguisable way. It's like, do you know what I mean? I'm at the point where I think if they want to work with us, they want to work with us. If they don't, they don't. I'm not going to waste my energy trying to persuade someone who maybe doesn't want to work with us, maybe isn't ready, maybe doesn't have the finances to do so, and then they've almost been pushed into it. So I don't sell. I literally do not sell. And if I come off a discovery call and they've not made a decision on the call, I literally have a Google sheet in my Google Drive. I have a Google sheet and I write all my leads in there, and I'll have drop downs that will say call taken, call booked, notes, and then it will say won, lost, waiting on a decision, you know, all the rest of it, just so I can track, just so I don't lose any, basically. And I will usually end the call with them and they'll say, oh, I'll get in touch next week, or, oh, I'll have a decision with you by tomorrow. So I try and get a deadline in on that call. Or some people ask me to send an email over with like a summary of what we've said, and they'll say, oh, well, I'm going to speak to my ops director on Tuesday, so I should reach out to you by such and such a day. I'll then make a note of that on my Google sheet, and then tell a lie. So Holly, who was the first ever associate, is now my VA. So Holly will go on there and she will say, oh, that one said they were going to get back to you by the end of this week. And it's like, oh, right, okay. So I'll just drop them a message on Thursday, say if they said, by the end of the week, only because I don't work a Friday. I've kept my Fridays precious. And I will literally just say to them, hey, just checking in after our call. Absolutely no pressure on my end. Just wondering whether you made a decision or whatever. And I always say absolutely no pressure on my end, because I don't want people to feel like I'm chasing, because it's like, oh, I want an answer. What are you going to work with me? It's just purely for me to be able to put won or lost on my sheet, because I like a complete sheet. I'm a freak with my sheet. And I'll always put a reason. So if it's lost, I'll always put a reason why. And usually people are very honest, not in budget right now. They realized they wanted more than what they initially said and can't quite stretch that right now. It could be that they found someone that has those skills already, or has, there's all sorts of reasons, and I do think as well, some people probably make them up. Maybe some people don't vibe with me. Maybe they get on a call and think, crikey, she's a bit too much for me, and that's fine. That's cool.
And it's best to find that out then, isn't it, rather than later down the line. That they're not.
You know what? I used to take it so personally. That's one thing I found really hard to adjust to. I think I hate the phrase, but I've toughened up so much since coming into business, because I used to cry at the slightest thing, because I thought it was something to do with me, or like I'd failed, or I'd not done a good job. I was honestly this like emotional mess. And over time, I've just realized, no, that's business. These things happen. You're not going to win every client. The only thing that really frustrates me, I would say, is people who don't give you an answer and just ghost you. They take half an hour, 45 minutes of your time. It's all positive. It's a lovely conversation. And then they just disappear. That really, really gets my goat. I think it doesn't take 30 seconds to just drop someone a message saying, really sorry, it's not right timing at the moment. Fine. I'm not going to go, oh, can I ask why? Or fine, but ghosting, that really gets my goat.
Very frustrating. Yeah. And I suppose that, because I know you said that you don't feel like you sell yourself, but that sort of passion and getting across about your business and your team and everything else, like that's going to sell it for you. And also the work you put in on LinkedIn is going to convert people so far anyway, isn't it? Because I bet there's a lot of people who hop on a call with you and it's just a formality, it's just the next step in onboarding. Basically, they know they want to work with you, so they're kind of already sold because you've already put so much effort in at the beginning.
Yeah, and I will kind of qualify them in the DMs as well. So there are some people that will go on and just book a call in with me, but I have questions on my Calendly as to what support you're looking for, all the rest of it. And before I get on a call, I like them to know what we're all about. I like to know whether they're looking for socials, email, admin. I don't ask them specifically what they want. I mean, some people send a list and it's like, wow, that's cool. Okay, I can really narrow that down. But I like to go in on the call with an idea in my head of who that person would go to. I would really hate to get on a call and go into it blind, not knowing anything that they wanted. And I would make sure that I got that out of the DMs first, because that could end up a waste of time for both. What if they were looking for help with their invoices, and then I'm like, oh, well, actually, we can't touch accounting software. You've got to find that out first, for fairness on both parties, really. There, isn't it? But don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so tell me then, by comparison, what is your life like now compared to pre-VA as a teacher?
Oh, I've put weight on because I don't move as much.
I suppose because you're probably always on your feet.
I was always on my feet. I was out teaching PE, or I was because I was like a creative teacher, I was always up and doing something. And now it's like the creativity goes into the computer. So I've joined the gym again. It's all good. We'll get over that. I just feel free. I feel free. I do have freedom, and being able to control that is just the best feeling ever. Don't get me wrong, in school, I had the holidays, but in those holidays, it was expected that, like, oh, by the end of the holidays, you've got to be prepared for this, prepared for that. Sometimes you'd be in painting your classroom. You know, it was very, very hard to switch off. If the kids ever had sports day, Christmas concert, you know, stuff like that, yes, I could organise to go, but I'd have to make sure that I swapped it, or I did it in my admin time, or if there was something going on in school that was important for me to be there, I had to be there. So I wouldn't say I missed a lot, but it was extremely stressful trying to sort it out. Whereas now I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't keep too much client work for myself now. I keep 2 clients for myself, and I did that for a reason, and that's so that I can be present in the business, and work on the business. And I'm starting another business, but that's another story. So I have got a lot of flexibility there. And because I have that relationship with the clients that I work with, and we vibe and we get on and we both equally wanted to work with each other, I can literally just send them a voice note and go, oh, Imogen's got a sports day at 11 o'clock. Sorry, back on your emails after that. And they're like, yeah, no problem. It's just, that's what it's like. We're chilled. Our clients are chilled, down to earth, successful people, but down to earth, and understand life and understand that we all work hard, because I really, really feel that we have high standards, but also we're real people. We're just,
human beings.
We're just human, and our clients are too, and we're very lucky in that respect. So yeah, freedom. I'd say that's how it's changed. Freedom. It's like I nipped to Morrison's this morning. There are other supermarkets out there. Nipped to Morrison's this morning because I can't even remember what I needed. I can't remember. I needed something anyway, and I thought, oh, I'll just go now. And it's like, wow, I've just nipped to Morrison's at 10:30 in the morning because I can. You know, I don't get all like the trolley bashers and things on a Sunday morning.
Oh, that's amazing. And and I think that definitely keeping that time for you to work on your business as well, and not just have client work, is really key as well. So I'm interested to talk a little bit more about the transition for you from teaching to not teaching. So I know you worked 4 days a week before anyway, didn't you? So when you was doing your 4 days a week, that 1 day a week, was you doing your VA work on that one day plus sort of evenings and mornings at that time? Because I know what the workload is like for teachers in any case. Like, you must have been sort of really hectic, was you, at the beginning, or not?
Yeah, it was hectic. And I look back now and I think, how the hell did I do that? Like, how did I do that? And especially not when I was working 4 days, to be honest, teaching 4 days. It was more when I was working 2 days in school and 3 days on the business. That was when it was the most hectic, because then it was a fully established big business, you know. But when I was teaching 4 days, it was still a startup. It was manageable. So I worked on my day off school, and then I did some bits and bobs in the evening, but I only offered that day as my working day. And I said to the client at the time, if there's anything else in the meantime that needs doing, send it to me and I'll try my best to do it one evening. So it was never I'll get it done in the evening. It was just send it to me and I'll try my best to get that done for you as well. So yeah, but that's hard to come by. It's hard to come by a client who would be accepting of just 1 day a week. Like that's not normal at all, I don't think. But yeah, when I did, I mean, I had one client, when I worked 3 days a week, they paid me for an hour a day. Can't remember what it was. Oh, it's community management. And they were like, oh, that hour a day can be done anytime you want. And I thought, oh, great, that's fine then. I'll just do it when I get home from school. So at that point, I was teaching. I had messages coming to me about clients that associates were working with, because at that point, there was no Holly managing the team. Everybody came to me. I'd get home. I'd put my bags down, I'd make tea for the kids, I'd do my hour community management, I'd have quick tidy up, kids clubs, kids to bed, and then it'd be like, oh gosh, I'll just get on and do something. I've got to write a LinkedIn post. And it was hard. But at the time when I was doing it, it was normal, because that's what teaching was like anyway. It's just that I probably let go of that obsessiveness with my teaching career. So all the extras that I used to do and shouldn't have done with teaching and should have stood my ground, I did because my business took priority. And that's not to say that my teaching slipped. My teaching was probably a hell of a lot better, to be quite honest, because I wasn't messing about doing all the admin for it at night and all the rest of it. And I had to be so organized. So it made me a better teacher in a weird kind of way. It's a very
interesting.
I still wanted out. I was done.
Yeah, I know. And there's, my husband and I, we've both got teachers in the family, and we know how big sort of the pressures are on the teachers these days. And I think it obviously speaks volumes how many are leaving and trying to pursue alternatives, which is why I know in the VA Skills Lounge, we've got a few teachers who are looking for a route out as well. And there is always questions from teachers, but others as well, who are maybe, there's social workers in the group too, there's nurses, there's lots of people from all different public sector workplaces at the moment who are looking for a route out. And we get a lot of comments and posts from people saying, but what can I do? I've never been a PA before. And obviously we can explain to people that, I've never been a PA before either. And, that's fine. And that's not my bag. And that's not all it is. But what would you say are the key transferable skills that you've been able to take from your teaching and apply to your business, and in particular offer as services? And I know that you'll probably know others that were in a similar boat to you as well, that you can sort of bring in the experience of too.
For me, I think the organisation is the top one. Just because I hadn't done email and diary management before, just because I hadn't been a VA before, it didn't mean that I wasn't naturally organised. I am an organised person. I'm always the friend that books the holiday and takes everybody's money and sorts it all out. I was always, I'm the mum in the group, I was always the organiser. And I think that's come from being in the classroom and having to wear many, many hats. So I'd say the organisation, definitely, and the time management. So I had to manage my time so well. So that was definitely transferable. The organisation, the time management, and the people skills. I was used to speaking to people. My role was quite creative in school. So like writing content and things, that didn't... I wasn't short of ideas. Don't get me wrong. It was still like, oh, scary posting it. But I wasn't short of ideas to write. Yeah. So they were definitely, my transferables. But I literally had no marketing experience. I had no PA experience. If I could go back now, I think back to like how I did it and what I did. Knowing what I know now, I think what I would do, and this might sound a bit unique, I would pay a VA to show me just for an hour, give me some examples of things you do. Like if you're managing, and I know there's courses out there, isn't there? There's email diary management courses, there's LinkedIn courses, whatever. But I would pay a VA to show me, like just spend an hour with me. Can you show me how you do email diary management? Just share the screen, not client details, obviously, but, can you show me how you'd manage somebody's Instagram? And for me, I'm quite visual anyway, so that would have been great. I'd have kept paying for more hours and more hours and more hours, but I think the whole pay a VA thing, I would have done that. I would have definitely done that, because people can't help each other out for free all the time, because there are so... I always feel so mean when I get messages from people who are starting out as VAs and all the rest of it, and I'll get it on LinkedIn. They're like, oh, any tips, any advice? And I think, oh gosh, that was me at one point. But if I gave everybody that attention, if you like, and I gave everybody that help, I'd never get anything done and I'd never make any money, So that's when I started doing like power hours, not just for VAs, for like business owners and things on LinkedIn lead gen.
Yeah.
And that was my way of giving back, because I do enjoy it. That was my way of giving back, but also stopping being a little bit silly with just helping everybody for nothing and tiring myself out and getting burnt out, you know.
So exactly, because you've got to protect your time. Otherwise, you know, what's the point in moving away from teaching and setting up a business by yourself if you're going to end up in the same boat?
Yeah. But you know what? I think that was drilled into me. That's probably a bad quality that transferred across with me, was I was used to working for free. I was used to working in the evenings, at weekends, in the holidays that I wasn't actually pro rata and paid for. I was just used to over delivering, because that's what it is. And like, it took me a while to get into that mindset of, oh no, my time will cost people. It was like, oh, I felt so cheeky. I felt so damn cheeky doing that. And I now look at my teacher friends and we'll have conversations and things. And I say to them, I'm like, why are you doing that? Have you been in to ask for extra admin time out of class to do that? Why, you know, And they're like, you've forgotten what it's like. You know, that's not going to happen. And I think because towards the end of my teaching career, I had realized this from being in the VA world too. I became quite vocal. I became the one that stood up for everybody and said things were unfair, and you know. And I thought, yeah, that just you can't fight with the government. You know, it's what it is, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and like you said at the very beginning, you know, if there's something that you're unhappy with, then you've got to change it. You've got to move, and you're responsible for doing that. If nothing changes, then nothing changes, does it? And you've got to be the one to make it happen. And obviously that's exactly what you've done. So what would you say is the most... Oh, go on.
Sorry, it's because we've got a lag, isn't it? I was just going to say, though, there's no way that I would have done it if I hadn't hit rock bottom. So it did take for me to hit rock bottom in order to do it. So like some of my friends at the minute, like, oh, I wish I could do what you do. Oh, I wish I could. And even though I say to them, you can do it, you know, you can do this, you could do that, I know that it's just, you know, but until they hit a point with it, they're not going to do it. So if I didn't hit rock bottom, I would never have done it. But it took, unfortunately, for that to happen for me to kind of go, right, this is, we've got one life here. What am I doing? You know, but I needed something to snap me into that, to be honest. It's not nice, but something came out.
And you know, I was in a very similar situation where I was at the point where I was like, I can't do what I'm doing anymore. I've got to do something else. And you just have to want it enough. And if you do want it enough, then you can make it work and make it happen. So having said that, then, because I imagine you've had downs as well through your journey, as we all do as business owners, has it all been worth it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And there's definitely been downs. I feel like we've spoken about lots of positives, and I've almost been bigging up the whole VA job and everything, but there are downs. And, you know, there've been times where a client hasn't gelled well with an associate and I got it wrong. You know, sometimes you get it wrong. And then we've had to change the client to a different associate and, you know, all the rest of it. I used to find that quite stressful. Now I don't, because I just realized, oh, actually, people own this. People are like, oh, yeah, you know, I think I'd be better with someone who can hold me more accountable. Or people are just so willing to talk about their feelings. And they're like, you know, I'm creative and they're creative. I think I might need someone more. It's just accepted and it's cool now. But that at first was horrendous. If there was ever any issues with any clients, and when I say issues, there's never been any major issues, but I would then get roped in to deal with it. So I was still the head of department, if you like. I was still doing that role. We've had a couple of clients not pay and just run away, where I've had to take a loss. What else? You know, and then we've had points where we just seem to have lost an influx of clients all in one go. Just, you know, financial strains. They've taken on an employee, you know, all sorts of different reasons. And the thing I've learned about the VA world is it's so fluid. Like it really, we get to a point and it's like, oh my gosh, oh, we're full. Everybody's got hours. We all get on. I love it. Isn't it amazing? And then it's like, boom, something happens, you know? And I used to find that really, really hard to deal with. And I did used to get to the point where I'd be like, why? I've done all this work. Why have I done that? You know? But now I've just learned, it's like we had quite a big loss recently, a client, and, you know, I'm chuffed for them. They've got an employee. They're at that point where they can kind of move on. Of course, I'm chuffed for them because we have an amazing relationship. But that is a big loss for us as a business. And I've just gone, it's coming up to the school holidays. I'm just going to enjoy more time with the kids and the leads will come. I'll adjust my posts accordingly. And like today, I got 3 leads in my inbox. And I'm like, yeah, you know, once you believe in the process and you actually believe that you can do it and you've seen it working over and over again, you do chill a little bit with it. But you're going to be stressy and take everything apart at first. You wouldn't be human if you didn't. It takes getting used to. It really does take getting used to, I think.
Reading through the questions that we had on Facebook, and I think that we have probably answered most of them. Some of them are sort of more general VA queries that I can go back to people about. Someone's asked an interesting question about whether your clients are short-term or long-term. I would imagine you have lots of long-term clients, but do you take on sort of short project work too?
No, it just doesn't work with our setup. We do 10 hours a month minimum. It used to be 5 hours a month, but then I realized that 5 hours a month, it's hard to create a big impact in just 5 hours a month. And we wanted, you need to create a big impact in order to keep a client. You know, they've got to feel like that you're making a big difference in their lives, and 5 hours just doesn't do that, in my opinion. So we do 10 hours a month minimum. There have been some things that have come in that have been little projects, because there is a guy on the team that is very techie and says, oh, if anything ever comes in, you know, I'll do it. But to be honest, the whole setting up a contract for a 2-month project, and it just, long term, that's purely personal choice. I know some people that love that and thrive off that, but for us, no, we want everybody with us for the long term. Less onboarding, less stress, everybody's happy. No, it's not for me.
Okay, thank you. I think that was all of them from the Facebook group. It's been really interesting to talk with you about the transferable skills and your journey from, I suppose, being almost full-time teaching, probably full-time when you add up all the hours you wasn't meant to be doing, over to VA, and how you manage that, because I know that that's really important to lots of people, especially where you have sort of more stressful jobs in the public sector. So thank you so much for all of your input and for being vulnerable with us as well. And it would be great if you could just finish with maybe your top tip for anybody who's looking to start out as a VA.
Ooh, just one. How am I going to do it in one?
I'll let you have 2 if you want.
I would say once you've got all your essentials in place, your insurance, your ICO, you know, all the boring stuff, pick one platform and just put your heart and soul into it to learn it and to go for it. You can branch into other platforms afterwards, but just pick one platform and learn it so that you know it inside out. Because once you've got one mastered, you're cracking, you've got your business running, and you can always move on. I'm going down the social media route. There we go.
I think that's a great tip. That's really good, because otherwise people, they think, I've got to post to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I've got to be doing, whatever to try and win clients. It's just pick your thing, stick with that for a start, and make that your way of getting clients. So
definitely. And I think there's nothing worse than seeing somebody post on LinkedIn, and then you might follow them on like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Oh, and then you see it on their Facebook, and then you see it on their Instagram. It's like, guys, come on. There's no need for that. We've seen it now. But
Yeah.
no, well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed having a little chit chat in the afternoon. It makes a nice change.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the group.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.